Serial killer Mary Bell was 11 years old when she was sentenced to life in prison for killing two toddlers in 1968. Mary was only 10 when she strangled her first 4-year-old victim and left haunting confession notes for his family. 2 months later, she mutilated a 3-year-old boy. So Mary had a very tumultuous childhood and in many ways was attracted to pain and death due to her troubling environment. Hi everyone, today we'll be talking about the story of Mary Bell and the gruesome murders she committed in the 1960s. If you're interested in dark and mysterious stories, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on all notification buttons to stay updated on all of our latest videos. Let's continue. Mary Bell was born on May 26, 1957 to Betty McCricket, a 16-year-old sex worker. When Betty first saw Mary, she reportedly told doctors to take that thing away from me. So it is safe to say that Betty never wanted a child and things went downhill from there. Betty was often away from home on business trips to Glasgow, Scotland. But it was during her absence when Mary could find periods of respite away from the mental and physical abuse that she had to put up with when her mother was home. On one occasion, Betty's sister witnessed her trying to give Mary away to a woman who had been unsuccessfully trying to adopt a child, and she quickly recovered Mary herself. Mary was strangely accident-prone. She once fell from a window, and she accidentally overdosed on sleeping pills on another occasion. Some people speculate that the accidents were all planned by Betty to rid herself of a hindrance, while others see the symptoms of Munchausen by proxy because Betty strangely longed for the attention and sympathy her daughter's accidents brought her. According to later accounts given by Mary herself, her mother began to use her for sex work when she was just 4 years old, though this remains uncorroborated by family members. However, they did know that Mary's young life had already been marked by loss when she saw her 5-year-old friend run over and killed by a bus. Given all that happened, it did not surprise them that by 10 years old, Mary had become a very strange child who was withdrawn yet manipulative and was always teetering on the edge of violence. For weeks before her first murder, Mary had been acting strangely. On May 11, 1968, Mary had been playing with a 3-year-old boy when he was badly injured and fell from the top of an air raid shelter. But his parents thought it was probably an accident where the boy just accidentally fell. The following day, 3 mothers came forward to tell police that Mary had attempted to choke their young daughters. A brief police interview and a lecture resulted, but no charges were filed. Then, on May 25th, the day before she turned 11, Mary strangled 4-year-old Martin Brown to death in an abandoned house in Scotswood, England. She left the scene and returned with a friend, Norma Bell, only to find that 2 local boys who had been playing in the house had already stumbled upon the body. The police were mystified. Besides a bit of blood and saliva on the victim's face, there were no apparent signs of violence. There was, however, an empty bottle of painkillers on the floor near the body. Without further clues, police assumed Martin Brown had swallowed the pills and they ruled his death an accident. Then, days after Martin's death, Mary went to Martin's family home and told his parents that he wanted to see him. His mother gently explained that Martin was dead, but Mary said she already knew that. She wanted to see his body in a coffin. Martin's mother slammed the door in her face. Shortly after, Mary and her friend Norma broke into a nursery school and vandalized it with notes, taking responsibility for Martin Brown's death and promising to kill again. Police assumed the notes were just some prank. For the nursery school, this was just the latest and most disturbing in a series of break-ins, and they rarely installed an alarm system. A few nights later, both Mary and Norma were caught at the school, but as they were simply loitering outside when the police arrived, they were let off the hook. In the meantime, Mary was telling her fellow classmates that she had killed Martin Brown, but her reputation as a show-off and a liar prevented anyone from taking her claim seriously. But that was until another boy turned up dead. On July 31st, 2 months after the first murder, Mary and Norma killed 3-year-old Brian Howe by strangulation. This time, Mary mutilated the body with scissors, scratching his thighs and butchering his genitals. When Brian's sister went looking for him, Mary and Norma offered to help. They searched the neighborhood, and Mary even pointed out the concrete blocks that hid his body, as though they were acting in a play to fulfill their sick joke. Norma said that Brian wouldn't be there, and Brian's sister moved on. When Brian's body was finally found, the neighborhood panicked. 2 little boys were now dead. Police interviewed local children, hoping someone had seen something that would lead to a suspect. They were shocked when the coroner's report returned. As Brian's blood had cooled, new marks appeared on his chest. Someone had used a razor blade to scratch the letter M on his torso, and there was another disturbing note. The lack of force in the attack suggested that Brian's killer might have been a child. Mary and Norma did a poor job of disguising their interest in the investigation during their interviews with the police. Norma was excited, but Mary was evasive, especially when police pointed out that she had been seen with Brian Howe on the day of his death. On the day of Brian's burial, Mary was seen lurking outside his house. She even laughed and rubbed her hands together when she saw his coffin. So, the police called her back for a second interview, and Mary, maybe sensing that the investigators were closing in, made up a story about having seen an 8-year-old boy hit Brian on the day he died. The boy, she said, had been carrying a pair of broken scissors. But that lie turned out to be Mary Bell's biggest mistake, as the mutilation of the body with a pair of scissors had been kept from the press and the public. It was a detail known only to investigators and the murderer. It wasn't long before both Norma and Mary broke down upon further questioning. Norma began cooperating with the police and implicated Mary, who herself admitted to being present during Brian Howe's murder, but she tried to place all the blame on Norma. Both girls were charged and a trial date was set. At the trial, the prosecutor told the court that Mary's reason for committing the murders was solely for the pleasure and excitement of killing. Meanwhile, the British press referred to the child murderer as evil born. The jury agreed that Mary had committed the murders and handed down a guilty verdict in December. The conviction was not murder but manslaughter, as court psychiatrists had convinced the jury that Mary showed classic symptoms of psychopathy and could not be held fully responsible for her actions. Norma was regarded as an unwilling accomplice who had fallen under a bad influence, and she was acquitted. The judge concluded that Mary was a dangerous person and a serious threat to other children. She was sentenced to be imprisoned at Her Majesty's pleasure, a British term that denotes an indeterminate sentence. Apparently, the authorities were impressed with Mary's treatment and rehabilitation after 12 years, and they let her out in 1980. She was released on license, which meant that she was technically still serving her sentence but was able to do so while living in the community under strict probation. Mary was given a new identity to provide her with a chance at a new life and protect her from tabloid attention. Mary would go on to give birth to a daughter in 1984, but her daughter didn't know of her mother's crimes until she was 14, when a tabloid paper in the UK discovered where the two were staying. Mary and her daughter would escape their home to a safe house with the help of undercover officers. Today, Mary is in protective custody at a secret address. Both she and her daughter remain anonymous and are protected under court order. Anyway guys, that's it for today. Drop a comment down below on what you think of this video. If you have other stories you wish for me to cover, leave a comment and a link for me to look deeper into it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our latest videos. I'll see you in our next campfire stories. Thank you for watching.